When my wife was pregnant with our second son, he did not want to come out. At 41 weeks, Mel was ready, but Oscar wasn't. We heard lots of very confident recommendations about how to induce labour. Multiple women have eaten a particular eggplant parmesan recipe and said it put them into labour immediately. Our birth course said if we press on an acupressure meridian, she'd go into labour too. It was large intestine point number 4. I shouldn't touch number 3 or number 5, number 4 was the one certain to induce labour. Now I can see how some people come to believe this stuff works. Lots of women eat eggplant parmesan or get acupressure and then go into labour. But what's the problem with this logic? Well, lots of people don't eat eggplant parmesan and don't do acupressure and still go into labour. A Cochrane review found acupressure did not help in any of the outcomes that they examined. Acupressure doesn't cause labour. Being very pregnant causes you to try acupressure because you're desperate, and also being very pregnant causes labour too. So why do people think it helps? They're failing to ask a really important question. What would have happened otherwise? Considering what would have happened otherwise is called counterfactual thinking. It's easy to see there's no counterfactual impact of eating a special eggplant parmesan recipe, unless you're lacing it with birthing hormones. My wife would have had the same chance of going into labour if I'd given the acupressure to the eggplant instead. Now let me give you a harder example of where counterfactual thinking might change what you do. It shows that this type of thinking could matter a lot when it comes to doing good. When Oscar finally did come out, he needed the help of a doctor. The doctor resuscitated him and probably saved his life. I'm so grateful for that doctor. It reminded me of why I thought a lot about studying medicine when I was growing up. There are lots of great things about studying medicine, but the biggest thing for me was being able to save lives like our doctor did. The weird part is when you start thinking about the impact of studying medicine counterfactually. Greg Lewis is one doctor who tried to calculate how many lives he'd save over his career. If he became a paediatrician and saved even one baby a week, then you might think he'd save 50 lives a year or 2,000 across his career. Except what would have happened if he didn't study medicine? What's the counterfactual? Well, medical school only takes the top 5% of applicants. If he didn't study medicine, someone else would have. The counterfactual for the health system is that instead of getting Greg, it gets the next person in line. If Greg was ranked more highly, he might be a bit better than the next person in line, but not that much better. As a result, his counterfactual impact is only the little difference between him and the next person in line at medical school. So how many of those babies would not have been saved by a different doctor? Greg thinks it's only between 2 and 20 lives across an entire medical career. That's still an awesome number of lives, but it's 1% of the guess that I made earlier. As we've talked about in another video, there are diminishing returns here too. The low-hanging fruit for doctors to save lives generally gets picked first. Even with one fewer doctor, a good health system will still prioritise the most important cases. One less doctor should mean a longer wait time, not people stuck on the curb with a life-threatening illness. Now, none of this is to say doctors aren't awesome, and we don't want more of them. Doctor shortages are real all around the world, but they're not solved by one more person applying to medical school. The problems are all the other bottlenecks. The number of doctors that can get into med school, and the funding for doctors when they come out. If Greg wanted to make a bigger difference, he might try to open these bottlenecks, or he might work in areas where there's more low-hanging fruit, like in low-income countries. He might work on neglected research to find new treatments that the whole world can use. It's research like this that helped us learn how to deliver babies safely without eggplants or acupressure. With these things, it might be less likely that his work would be replaced by someone else. Greg chose to do 2 things that probably did have a big impact counterfactually. First, he put his skills towards a big neglected problem, preventing catastrophic pandemics. As we've talked about in another video, the next pandemic could be 100 times worse than COVID, making it a massive problem. There are far fewer people working on this than there are doctors in the UK, so it's more likely this is counterfactual impact. The work is less likely to have happened without him. Second, he committed to donating at least 10% of his income to the most effective charities he could find. By his math, a normal doctor might save 2 to 20 lives, but donating in this way could save 20 or 30 times that. Donating this much to the most effective charities isn't exactly a common thing for people to do. More and more people are doing it, but you can still be pretty confident that the next doctor in line was not going to do the same thing. Again, this means his impact here is counterfactual. It wasn't going to happen otherwise. So like I said, I'm so grateful to have doctors I can trust and a health system behind them. I might not have my boys without them. But the good news is my boys don't have to get into medical school to save lives. By thinking counterfactually, there are ways all of us can have a bigger impact than we might have thought.